Has he be synonymous with Westport and Mayo, but when you go to Croke Park, he is the first name that will be mentioned on most occasions when you mention Westport and Mayo. And to talk a small little bit about the history of the club, will you Corrigy Fáilte is Paddy Muldoon.
First of all, I want to welcome Egon here, a Cavan man who came from the very bottom up to become president of the association, which proves that anybody who has the will and the way can be what this man is here and has given a tremendous service. However, he's one of the second Cavan man to come here, because the day we opened this pitch out here in 1958, a fellow called P.J. Fitzpatrick, a Cavan man, played for Mayo against Galway. He was a great athlete. I'm not absolutely sure what club he came from. Briefly, for the benefit of the younger people in particular, this ground out here was once the cricket ground of Westport. It was an unfortunate position that the town was in, that they had to put up with cricket. There is another county in the east of the county now that there plays a bit of cricket, but John Frenchie will tell you more about that. The history of this club, it's very colourful. We changed the name about 5 times. Archereach, which is where the second fielders, we were known as that, and we were known as Derry Cropatricks, and we were known as Ahagower Derry, and finally I think we changed the name for the last time about 1914 when we named ourselves the Volunteers, and by 4 votes to 3, Mike Kelly or John Frenchie would know about this, they were affiliated in 1914 as the Volunteers, and in fairness 7 people abstained and 7 people voted. And the people, Harry Hughes is here, and he would able to tell you a lot more about this, but those people played a major part during 1916 and 1917 and was arrested. The McBrides, and I don't know if the Americans, Mary here or any of the family, the McBrides were very, very prominent here. Joe McBride brought the first hurdles into Westport, and he brought them into the county. He became the first president of the Connacht Council. I don't know whether John proposed him, John Printy proposed him at that stage or not, but he was the first president of the Connacht Council. And Major John McBride, who's uncle of Harry Hughes, it was responsible for the monument up on the Mall back in 1966, and I was chairman of the club at 65. I was chairman of the club here at the time. He put a permanent visible memorial, and it's there, and later on this year Harry Hughes will be asking the club here to come up and support the 2016 commemoration. The other item was that Joe Ring, the granduncle of Michael Ring, he was arrested for playing in a field quite local here. Margaret Adams again will be able to show you where that field is. And himself and a fellow called Jackie Welch, they were trespassing, they were kicking a football, so they were trespassing, and they were brought to court, fined a shilling. They refused to pay, and rightly so, and were interned. And he was captain of Westport. Unfortunately, during the worst period in the history of this country, he lost his life in the Alps Mountains down in Sligo. But they were the type of people we had. In 19, we came forward and we bought this ground a little before my time, around the 1947 or 48. I was born, I might say, but however, they developed it, and they developed it the best way they could. It was then known as the rifle range. That was because this was a garrison town and it was used for a different purpose prior to 1916 or 1920. Then, in 1958, as I said, they opened this pitch with Cavan with Galway and Mayo, the captain man was P.J. Fitzpatrick, who was based in this town and was a great athlete as well. I think he held a few national athletic titles. And the people that did that are the people whose ground we're on now, the Kinneys. All of the Kinneys. Jack Kinney owned this ground here. He played in 1937. They went to America, and the cup is upstairs that they played for, which was put up by the McBride, the Durkin family, and that cup was upstairs, and the stage is there for everyone to see in 1937. And those people kept it going. Then there was a man called Tom McLaughlin, who was the treasurer who had to chop up the town, and they charged into that gate down here that day. It was an enormous price. It cost 2 shillings to get in. However, we have moved forward again, and now we have new officers. We took in Austin Groden. I think he was 14 at the time, much bigger and heavier than he was now, but he was a good under 14 player. And then we got really brave. We went to Monaghan, and we took a man that played football with one club in Monaghan, Aegon, and played hurling with another. At the time, he probably was illegal. But however, Sean Salmon has been the secretary. And the last person I want to mention is the treasurer. There's a young lady around here somewhere, I don't know where she is, but she's here for 28 years as secretary and treasurer. And she has another achievement, which I must remind the officers of the county board. There's a problem with tickets in London. She has ran a bus to every league and championship match since 1999. A full bus, without a miss. And that's Anne Baines. Finally, it must be remembered as well that we have some great sponsors in the club, and the chairman has mentioned them, and there's a lot of names. I see Broderick's here, I see a lot of names, and there's a lot of people, great sponsors, Castlecourt, Harry Hughes, all of those people, wonderful sponsors. I can't remember all the names, but when you come to my age, I'm entitled to forget. However, like all good politicians, in conclusion, all I'd like to say is that I hope that we can make the next step forward, and the next step forward is that we need 10 acres of ground. And being that the Connacht Council and the GAA are here, they have fed us, and I have to say this, and I express our gratitude to Michael Ring for this building, and I think it was Beverly Flynn that gave us 80,000 for another building. But now we need a couple of 100,000 because we have so many members. Incidentally, I must say that the biggest contributor in this field is the Connacht Council and the GAA. And I served with John when I was chairman of the county board and he was secretary. He was a great secretary, Aegon. On one occasion he passed me a blank page to sign as the minutes, and when it was questioned he told the gentleman that if he didn't understand it the first time he wouldn't understand it the second time, and it was still a blank page. But however, John Printy has been excellent and marvellous in development, and his wife came here. She's here as well this evening, and she started a little programme, and I'm glad to say they never published it, Mary, but they put it into practice. They didn't publish it, they put it into practice. Everything that you asked has been done. So, again, I'm grateful, and we are grateful here as a club. I'm only a president now. That happens when you're past 70, John, and it'll happen to you shortly, I hope. However, at this stage, I think it's only fair that I would say thanks again to them, and a very serious note to the President. As I said, this man came from Gallivahey today, which up in Tyrone, and I rang him at some stage during the day, and he couldn't even get the phone call. But that's the problem down here. We were in a backward area, but we're coming forward by degrees. Going to ring back up the